Good morning again. Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing another video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. And this is going to be a tinfoil session, as in tinfoil hat, as in what crazy people wear. It's going to be a conspiracy theory exploration. Not so much literally, I'm being humorous, I hope, but I want to describe something that kind of borders on the realm of the extreme possible, where things are not necessarily provable or measurable, but may exist nonetheless. These are things that frequently people discuss who are of questionable reputation and are also criticized for their, lofty and frivolous or whimsical topics that they frequently enjoy. But I usually talk about things that are measurable, but this one's going to be different. I want to talk about the impression I get from governments, and this is going to be kind of a funny thing. It should make sense here in a moment. The impression I get from governments, as in the world superpowers, being 49 years old now in my life and having experience with governments in general through the media and directly in the United States. So what I mean to say is I get a vibe, if you will, a sense of how things are actually going on, whether it's true or not. And I want to qualify everything I say in this video, this particular video, as being subject to revision and possible contradiction with any actual information or evidence. But I'll get right to the point, and that is that I think since the assassination of President Kennedy, the fundamental design of the U.S. presidency and the office, the presidential administration office, has changed. It has changed fundamentally that it's no longer the seat of power for obvious reasons, because being so high profile and visible to the public, it represents and represented at the time of Kennedy a liability to the country in the sense of national security and defense. In other words, it's too easy to upset the balance if the president themselves has an inordinate amount of power, because they're always in contact with somebody, and the best security is to just simply shift the seat itself of power to behind the scenes or someone else, someone who isn't as high profile. This is just logic. And it kind of opens the can of worms of having a shadow government. This is where it gets a little tinfoily, but it's a real idea, if not a real situation, where you have a puppet leader who basically serves as a public relations representative for an organization or a country, and they communicate, they speak, and they apparently make policies, but the real actual decisions are being made elsewhere. And I believe this is largely the case, if not entirely the case. And again, I have no evidence. I can't measure this. They make it very difficult to measure, but I think the same is going on in Russia. Now I want to get to that point too. I think it has been for a long time. I believe that Vladimir Putin is kind of a lightning rod, a sensationalist figurehead, where people are expected to believe that this man is actually driving the country. And while he may have a great deal of power, I don't believe he is the most powerful figure in Russia. I don't believe that our current president, Donald Trump, is the current most powerful person in the United States. I believe that there may be councils, so to speak. There may be an oligarchy, and you've heard this word a lot lately with the extremely rich people, the handful of multi-billionaires who supposedly have a stranglehold on high-ranking decisions, so to speak. And I don't know if the people we see in the media are necessarily those same people or not, but I do believe that there's a common misconception that the president is making all his own decisions, and I don't think he is. This is the point. So what does it mean? What's the final take from all this? What does it mean when the public is led to believe that any person in a position of leadership is the one responsible, when in fact They are simply communicating or conveying other decisions that have been made by people behind the scenes. What does that mean exactly? Well, it's kind of a big subject, actually. It connects with the idea of putting down protests. It connects with the idea of redirecting complaints and protests and feedback very much in the same way that documentation does, such as legal books, law books, such as policies that are written down, such as now that which is handled by AI, where you can communicate with something that even appears to be human but isn't. And it's a monologue, right? So what do all monologues have in common? Direction of information, right? You're not having a bi-directional conversation with a monologue. You're expected to hear it and follow it, or not follow it, but there's no feedback opportunity. And the same is true with figureheads. It's a lightning rod, something to distract you from what's actually going on. You can get upset about Trump, and people do. You know exactly what I mean. I think Trump's whole entire job is to make you upset so that you're so worried about Trump that you don't even pay attention to what's going on. I think that the same is true with Putin. I think that you're expected to think that any wars or inconveniences or problems that are happening on a national or international level are the responsibility of these leaders. And once you see them in a meeting, once you hear them speak or respond to things, you say, well, I did my best. I complained about Putin, or I complained about Trump. I went on social media and I put them on blast. Therefore, the job is done to the best of my ability. When in fact, if I'm right, you didn't do anything. By design, you did what was expected of you. And you changed nothing. And you never will, because those aren't even the people. The documents, the AIs, they're all there to catch your energy, to catch your complaints and your protests and put them safely to ground. When the actual people who are responsible, making decisions, pulling strings, enjoy unlimited power and freedom behind the scenes in secret. So it's just something to think about. You know, the starting point for any kind of progress, if you feel like progress is called for, is the truth. And if you're dealing with anything but the truth, it's a lie, okay, by definition. And you're not going to make progress. It's going to fall apart. That's the definition of a lie as well. It falls apart. Under scrutiny, lies fall apart by definition. It's what they are. So if you want progress, if you want liberty, if you want quality of life, if you want change, you got to start with the truth. You got to figure out who's even making decisions. Maybe talk to them about it. Demand to know why you can't talk to them, first of all, because they're not your representatives if you don't even know who they are, first of all. Reach out with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.